I love game day. It brings together two favorites, football and appetizers. And in this video, I'm making 15 appetizers to share with you. And the reason for 15 is because me and my husband are a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. And of course, our quarterback, number 15, Patrick Mahomes, I have to do that many appetizers. It's the perfect number. So let me show you those 15 appetizers. Let's go. The first appetizer I'm making are these layered nachos with this amazing creamy cheese sauce. And we're gonna get started with two types of chips. I like to vary the chips. I just like the different colors and sometimes different texture of the chips. And I love to layer because that's gonna be the key. Don't you hate when you get a tray of nachos and you eat the first layer and then all you're left with are naked chips? I don't like that. So I like to layer, and I start with my ground beef, or you could have ground turkey that's already been cooked. And then I layer it with some black beans. I have some salsa, or you could use fresh tomatoes, and then lots of cheese. I like a variety of cheese. And then I'll add my second layer of the chips, more beef, more beans, more tomatoes and salsa, and plenty more cheese. I continue layering until I'm out of toppings, and then I'm going to put this in the oven for about 15 minutes at 350 degrees. I'm only trying to melt the cheese and heat up the meat. All right, while that's cooking, I'm going to make our amazing cheese sauce. And I'm starting with my Pampered Chef blender. I have 1.5 cups of milk and 1 teaspoon of taco seasoning and a teaspoon of salt, along with 1 garlic clove that I've peeled. And I'm gonna let my blender do the work because my blender has a heating element, so it actually heats while it blends, which is amazing. So I'm gonna let that do its thing, leaving it on the sauce setting. And while it's doing that, I'm going to make the roux. The roux is 3 tablespoons of butter along with 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. And I'm just gonna melt that in the microwave. I'm gonna stir and then melt it for another 15 seconds, stir, do another 15 seconds at a time. And I'm trying to get it to a nice consistency, no lumps, and just make sure it's nice and smooth. And I'm gonna add this roux into my blender when it prompts me with an add message. Once I do that, I'm gonna close the lid and I'm gonna push the wheel to start again. And when the timer is up, I'll push cancel, remove the cap, and now I'm ready to add my cheese. For my cheese, I have cheddar cheese, a little bit of pepper jack, and I have some Colby Jack. So any cheese will do. You just want about 8 ounces of cheese to put into the blender. Put my lid back on, put the speed to 3, and put it on custom blend for 1 minute until my cheese is fully incorporated. And once my cheese is completely melted, I am ready to pour this over my nachos. To add to my nachos, I did add some cold ingredients, some cilantro, some fresh avocado, and also some sour cream in the middle. Now it's ready for that cheesy, delicious sauce. Look at this. It is so creamy. It is so wonderful. And if you wanted to add a little heat, you could throw some jalapeños in there, but it is amazing. I love how this takes it over the top, literally. The best nachos, perfect for game day. Next, I'm making these jalapeno popper bites. We start with 1 block of cream cheese, add 1 cup of cheddar cheese, a 1/4 cup of pickled jalapenos, 1/2 cup of diced bacon bits, and 2 tablespoons of green onions. I'm also going to add about a teaspoon of some garlic powder. If you don't have pickled jalapenos, you can use regular or any kind of jalapeno you want based on the heat level you prefer. I give that a good stir until everything is combined, and now I'm ready to make our cups with these wonton wrappers. I coat them with oil and put them in my muffin tin. We're going to bake them at 350 for about 6 minutes till they get crisp. And now I'm going to take my filling and put 1 medium scoop with my scooper from Pampered Chef into each of those wonton wrappers. These are now ready to go back into the oven for 3 to 5 minutes until that cheese is melted. These are so amazing and will be perfect on your football day spread. Next up, I'm making honey bourbon meatballs. You can't have football food without some type of meatball. And for these, there are a few simple ingredients, starting with 2.5 cups of any flavor barbecue sauce, along with 3/4 cup of bourbon. This is Elijah Craig. You can use any brand. 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and then for a little kick of heat, just a little bit, a sprinkle of some red pepper flakes, and then also some garlic powder, about a teaspoon of that.
And then I'm going to combine all of those flavors, all of that mixed up together, and I'm just going to pour that right on top of my meatballs, and I'm going to put this on high for about 3 hours. Now, the meatballs I use are these restaurant-style meatballs that I got from Aldi, and I'm going to use 3 bags, put them in my crock pot, and I'm going to pour that wonderful bourbon sauce all on top. Once again, 3 hours on high or 4 hours on low, and yes, I flung a meatball across the floor. Across the kitchen. That's what happens, but these came out amazing.
This next appetizer is a dump and go spinach and artichoke dip. I'm going to start with 4 ounces of cream cheese that I'm going to add to the base of my crock pot, and then I'm going to add fresh spinach, about 6 ounces of fresh spinach, all the leaves right on top of the cream cheese, and then to the top of that I'm going to add a cup of, this is Greek yogurt, but you can also add sour cream. And then I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of minced garlic out of the jar, 1/4 cup of mayonnaise, and I'm just eyeballing here. These don't have to be exact measurements. And then I'm going to add cheese, 2 kinds. I'm going to add mozzarella cheese that's shredded, and I'm also going to add Parmesan cheese. It equals about 2 cups of shredded cheese. I'm now going to add my artichoke hearts. These come out of the can, the ones in water, and I did chop them a little bit, and I also took out the outer leaves. They can be kind of chewy, so I did take those off, and I'm just kind of pushing that down into the crock pot, and that is it. I'm going to put it into the base, and I'm going to cook this on low for 2 hours. And within an hour, everything is melted and nice and cheesy. It looks so good, and it pairs great with your tortilla chips or your pita chips or any vegetables, and it is a party favorite. Okay, our next recipe is a 2-ingredient appetizer. It's going to be stuffed mushrooms, and I just washed these mushrooms, and I'm taking out the stem and just putting them on my air fryer rack. The second ingredient with our mushrooms is market side. You could use any dip, but I have the jalapeno artichoke dip. It has cream cheese, Parmesan cheese, mayonnaise, jalapeno peppers, artichoke hearts, and sour cream. And it couldn't be easier. I just put a dollop of each of those into the mushroom cap, and now they're ready to go into the air fryer for about 10 minutes. I put them on the bottom rack of my air fryer, and I cooked them on bake for 8 minutes, and the mushrooms are starting to cook, and the cheese is getting browned and melted. And so I'm going to do another 8 minutes, keeping them on the bottom rack, and I'm going to adjust the temperature just a little bit to 325. And out of the air fryer, they are so good. These are the perfect combination. You got that juiciness from that mushroom and that cheesiness and that kick from the jalapeno. And this couldn't be easier, these 2 simple ingredients. Now, my dip only used for about 9 mushrooms, only 1/4 of the container. So you could probably get 30 to 35 mushrooms filled with just that 1 container of dip. Such a simple, crowd-pleasing appetizer, and the perfect thing to whip up if you have last-minute guests coming over. Another simple appetizer that is also keto-friendly are these cucumber shrimp bites. Starting with our cucumber rounds, the tool that is best for getting your cucumbers the same consistency and thickness is my Mandoline by Pampered Chef. I love how this thing is not only fun, but it does create this consistent thickness based on the 1 through 8 settings, so you can determine how thick or thin you want it. I have my shrimp here. They are peeled, deveined, tails off, and I have defrosted them, and I'm patting them completely dry, and I'm going to sear them in my pan with olive oil. And I have my Greek seasoning. Cavender's is our favorite, and that's all I'm going to sprinkle on these shrimp, and then sear them on both sides. Shrimp doesn't take long to cook at all, just a couple minutes on each side, and then I have those prepared. My first batch is done cooking, and now I'm working on my second batch, and this is the longest part of this appetizer. It's just cooking these shrimp. We'll let those cool, and then we're ready to assemble. The cucumber slice as the base. I use store-bought guacamole for this, and the key is to use chunky guacamole so it holds up for that shrimp. And then just top your cucumber with the guac, add the shrimp on top, and then I just sprinkled some cilantro and dried parsley for a little garnish, a little color, and that's it. The guests loved this. It's the perfect crunchy, salty bite.
Next up, we're making hogs in a blanket. We're gonna take 1 package of beef smoked sausage that's already been cooked, and we're gonna cut it into 4 equal lengths. I love any variation on pigs in a blanket, and this is just a little bit different. So you're gonna have 1 package of crescent rolls, and you're gonna divide it into your 4 sections, and then you're gonna make sure you flatten it and have all of the seams pinched together. That way when you roll up your sausage link, no tears or holes appear. Once they are all rolled up, I will cut them in equal slices and put them sausage side up, and I'll put them on my chip and dip set from Pampered Chef. I'll cook them in the oven 375 degrees for 15 minutes until they're nice and brown, and I serve them with either a mustard, like a stone ground mustard, or a German mustard, and these are always a hit. Next up are these buffalo chicken wings, which are everybody's favorite when watching the game. And I'm gonna get started with a few simple ingredients, but the thing for me to make juicy wings is to use my crock pot. I just love how it all comes together. So we're gonna start with our package of chicken wings. I got these from Sam's, and we're going to make a garlic butter sauce. I'm just gonna melt 4 tablespoons of butter with 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. I'm gonna melt that and pour that over my chicken wings. And on top of that, we'll add our red hot wing sauce. Gonna make sure all my wings are coated with the sauce. These usually cook within 2 hours on high, and then I transfer them to my air fryer. I start on the bottom rack for about 6 to 8 minutes, and then I move them to the top rack on air fry for about 3 to 4 minutes until they get nice and golden. Look at that. That's what we're going for, that beautiful golden color. Now we're gonna dunk them and dredge them in the buffalo sauce that we reduced down. We heated the sauce up that was left over in the crock pot, and we just thickened it with a little bit of cream cheese. And look at that, that sauce is perfect. We absolutely love these wings and can't think of a game day without them. Another appetizer everybody loves, and it's known to be eaten on game day, are sliders. These are grinder sliders, so they are a viral recipe, and I am starting with my deli meat. Pepperoni that I'm chopping into very small pieces, and then I'm also gonna do that with salami, and I'm gonna stack it and get it all into the small pieces. And then also I'm gonna use deli ham. This is uncured smoked deli ham, and these 3 deli meats go together really well. Then I'm gonna add my cheese. This is provolone cheese. I'm gonna stack that and get that into bite-sized pieces. And then I'm gonna combine this cheese with all of that deli meat. And I did this a day in advance. That's why you see me in a different outfit. And now we're ready to work on our vegetables. I start with 1 cup of mayonnaise, and then I have pepperoncini peppers that I just chopped a little bit. And then I have red sliced, actually these are diced onions, about 2 tablespoons of red diced onions. And to that, I'm going to add a bag of pre-shredded bag of lettuce, mix all of that together, and then I'm gonna prepare my Hawaiian rolls. But first I'm going to add a little bit of Italian seasoning. Just add that in, stir that combined, and now our Hawaiian rolls. I'm going to get a whole package out, and I'm going to split those horizontally. So I have 2 sections. I'm going to take the tops off, and first I'm going to add a little bit of Italian dressing, and I'm going to add more mayonnaise to the bottom layer of the rolls and just spread that all across. And then I'll put my deli meat and cheese on top of the rolls, and then I'm going to cover them with the top layer, and then I'll put them in the air fryer. My air fryer has a bake setting, so I'll put them on the bottom rack, bake them for about 10 minutes. If they get too brown on top, I cover them with aluminum foil. And this was off camera, but once they came out of the air fryer, I did go ahead and put that lettuce mixture on top of the meat, and then I cut them into individual sandwiches, individual sliders. And you can see here the lettuce mixture is on top of these, and they turned out so good. The flavor with that vinegar of the dressing and the crunchiness of all the vegetables and the tanginess of the pepperoncinis, these were amazing. Next, I'm making stadium dip, and it is going to be made with homemade guacamole this time. I have 3 avocados that I've just diced and put in my bowl, and I have fresh tomatoes that I've chopped, and then 2 tablespoons of cilantro also chopped. I also have some minced onion that is finely diced, and then minced garlic out of the jar, 2 tablespoons, a tablespoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of lime juice. I just mix all of that up, keeping it fairly chunky, but kind of nice and smooth as well. And now we're going to put that to the side because we are going to prepare our stadium. Now I have a disposable tray here that I have 2 pieces of cardboard. I'm just trying to make 3 sections and trying to have it divided. And I'm going to start by putting my guacamole into the middle portion, and I'm going to dump all that and then smooth it out until I have a nice middle area for the field. I'll remove my cardboard sections, and now I'm going to add my salsa on one side, and then this could be any salsa, but chunky is better. And then I'm going to add my queso out of the jar onto the other side. So these are my 2 end zones, and you can use any queso you like. This is sour cream. I just put into a plastic bag and I snipped off the end so I can make really fine lines across the entire guacamole field. And I just drew those and just try to do the best I could. And then I'm gonna add my little players. Of course, my players are in red, so I used half of cherry tomatoes and just put those skin side up across the field. Now I'll build out the rest of the stadium with the things we'll use to dip into the dip, and that is with these celery sticks and also some tortilla chips. And I also did make goalposts with some cheddar cheese. I cut them in blocks and then stuck toothpicks in them to keep them upright. And they might have been a little top heavy, but I think people knew what they were. But in hindsight, I might try to use sausage links or also pretzel rods. I've seen that done before too. But these work just as well. And I love that I turned my homemade guacamole into something more fun and creative. Another game day appetizer I make all the time are these oyster stuffed pepperoncinis. It may seem unusual, but the flavor combo is perfect. You start with your pepperoncinis. You're going to take off the stems and de-seed it if you want to remove that heat. And then you are going to open up your smoked oysters and your cream cheese, and the assembly couldn't be easier. Your little oyster, smoked oyster, will fit perfectly into the pepperoncini. If it's a larger one, add 2, and then you'll just add a little dollop of cream cheese right into the top. Add it onto your buttery round cracker, your Ritz cracker. To help them stay, I usually put a little bit of a dollop of cream cheese on the cracker to get them to stick, and then that's it. It couldn't be any easier, and if you don't like smoked oysters, give this combo a try. It may change your mind. My family, though, they love it. I always have to make 2 plates of it, a whole container of oysters, and it goes so quickly. The next appetizer I'm making is bacon wrapped water chestnuts with a smoked whiskey glaze. I'm going to start by cutting a whole package of bacon into thirds. Then I'll take a small can of water chestnuts, and these are sliced, or you could use the whole ones. If you use sliced, just double them up and then wrap them in your bacon. I found this smoked whiskey glaze at a specialty store, but you can use barbecue sauce or hoisin sauce or teriyaki glaze, anything that's going to caramelize up really well. I'm going to air fry these in my Pampered Chef air fryer for about 5 minutes. I want to start off slow because they can burn, but I'm going to start slow with about 5 minutes. Okay, I flipped them over and now glazing the other side so that both sides are crispy, putting them back in the air fryer for another 5 minutes. Perfect. They came out perfect. Let's get them out and cooled off. Put little toothpicks in them and serve them up. Next up, I'm making an artichoke cheesy dip. This is going to start with 1 block of cream cheese. I have it in my Rock Crock everyday pan, and I have it on my stovetop on medium-high heat. To that block of cream cheese, I'm adding 2 garlic cloves. I pressed in my garlic press, and I'm also adding 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. I'm going to stir that until the cream cheese is all melted. To that, I will add the zest of 1 lemon, and also I will add 1/4 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. I noticed one of my burners had a little bit of food on it and it was starting to smoke up, so I had to move it off that burner, and that's why this is showing on half the screen. But I'm now adding 1 jar of artichoke hearts that we finely chopped. All right, instead of roasted red peppers, I have roasted red pepper and artichoke tapenade. Got that from Aldi. I added 1 tablespoon of that, and I'm also adding this mozzarella cheese blend, which is about 1/2 cup. And I'm going to stir all that back on the burner now to melt everything once again. Now to the top, I'm going to add sliced olives, green onions, and a little more of that Parmesan cheese on top. You could add this under your broiler and get that cheese nice and melted, but I just went ahead and put it on my slow cooker base so it could stay warm and served it up with crackers and some toasted baguette slices. This dip was so creamy and delicious and everybody really loved it. I hope you try it. I think your guests will love it too. Next up, I'm making these roast beef sliders on pretzel buns. They are so good.
All right, first thing we're gonna do is put this heat on. We're going to make our sliders. So I want to get a good amount of oil. I might as well just finish that off. Now, while that is heating up, here is my arm roast. And what we're going to do is we're going to season it with our Lipton soup mix, onion Lipton soup, recipe soup and dip mix.
In hindsight, I recommend doing this step actually after searing the meat. So sear the meat first with maybe just some salt and pepper, and then put this seasoning on top right before you're about to put it in the slow cooker. The reason for that is so that the onion bits don't burn as you're searing the meat. In addition to the onion soup mix, for more onion flavor, I am slicing up an onion that I will also add to the slow cooker. Once my meat is seared on one side, I'll flip it over and get a good sear on the other side. I'll remove my pan from the heat and I'll add 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce.
I'm gonna add my onions.
I'm going to add 1 cup of beef broth, and I'm going to take my everyday pan and insert it into the slow cooker base, put the lid on and let it cook at low for 8 hours. Again, my Pampered Chef Rock Crock and slow cooker combo set is amazing because I can do everything in one pot. And here is the final beef. It is completely cooked, falling apart, fork tender, and ready to be served on our pretzel buns. I added some smoked provolone cheese to melt on top, and it was perfect. The saltiness of the bun with the smokiness of the cheese and that beef was fantastic. Our last game day appetizer only includes 3 ingredients: cheddar cheese, chili, and a block of cream cheese.
I'm gonna put it in my little crock pot here, put it on high until everything's nice and melted, and then we're gonna serve it up with some crackers or vegetables or whatever we have on hand to dip it and scoop it up and enjoy.
I love making this dip because it is so easy. I just add that cream cheese block to the base of my crock pot, add the can of chili on top of that, and I use the no beans version, or you can even make your own homemade chili and add about 2 cups to the cream cheese. I put it on high and it doesn't take long at all for that cream cheese to start melting. Mix that together, put the lid on again and let it go another 20 minutes. And then I come back and stir it again, making sure everything is nice and melted. And when it is, I'm now going to add my 1 cup of shredded sharp cheddar cheese. That just gets sprinkled on top. I'll put the lid on a few minutes and this is completely melted. Ooey gooey, cheesy, delicious. This is perfect for game day. Thank you so much for watching these 15 appetizers for game day. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, and of course always subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next video. And go Chiefs!